yesterday's election results. Virginia is for lovers of abortion, as is Ohio.
And marijuana, too, in Ohio.
And to
to get an abortion.
And to a lesser extent, Kentucky, it was an issue. It wasn't necessarily the overriding issue the way Democrats made it the case in Virginia, but it was still an issue. There was an ad that the Democrat incumbent Beshear ran against Daniel Cameron that focused on a woman who was raped being able to get an abortion. So how do yesterday's dismal results for the Republicans outside of Nassau and Suffolk counties in New York, how does that inform what the discussion will be tonight in Miami when Republican presidential candidates, some of them, get together to debate? And how will they be able to have an intelligent discussion with NBC moderators driving the train?
Lester Holt, Kristen Welker.
For more on this, both questions, we're pleased to be joined by Doug Truax. He's the founder and president of Restoration PAC. Doug, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Hey, Amy. Thanks for having me on.
Well, let's start with that debate tonight in Miami because you penned a letter to RNC Chairwoman Ronna McDaniel saying why, essentially, I'm paraphrasing, why are we partnering, we, the Republican Party, partnering with NBC so we can have Kristen Welker and Lester Holt antagonize Republican candidates with silly questions and faulty premises like we've seen so many times before? Why are we partnering with media organizations that want to see Republicans lose elections, right?
Yeah, it's really hard to watch, and I started the letter with, I can't believe we even have to say this. And I think it's a mindset that she's just living in the past. I think this is also, not too long ago, the Harmeet Dillon versus Ronna McDaniel challenge and all that stuff. And there's a larger conversation to be had here. I'm sure we'll have it about the on-the-ground operations in the states and the losing that we're going through. But I think Ronna she just lives in a previous time. And, 90% of Republicans do not trust mainstream media at all. And they know what you just said, that this is going to turn into an opportunity for Democrat political operatives who call themselves reporters to get on there and pretend like they're moderators, and then they'll shape the questions around things that they want to. And then our poor guys have got 30, 45 seconds or whatever it is to try to, move past what they said and move on to the stuff that they want to talk about that, Republican primary voters want to talk about. And it's an incredibly difficult environment. And then we get through it, and once again, we'll all be like, why did we pick those people? And this continues to happen. The last time this happened, they said, you know what, we're not going to do it again. We'll be better next time. We'll think it through better. And I think they're foolish. I think they're lazy. I think they're living in the past. I mean, things have changed dramatically, especially the last decade, obviously, or 2 decades. But she's just somewhere else. And I think the larger point too is she's just not a warrior. I mean, we have to have a warrior now in that spot because you better believe the Democrats, they are just kicking our butt every time we do this, and they would never do something like this, but we go and do it and, expect a different result. So the ratings are going to be terrible, and we're all probably going to be pissed off tomorrow morning.
Well, where else should they have gone? I mean, they already went to Fox, and then they went to Fox Business. Newsmax, I mean, where do you think they should have had this third debate? And do you think they should even have one? Because after the second one, which was they talked over each other. It was just the worst debate I've ever seen in my life. I almost turned off the TV twice. Do you think they need a third debate?
Well, I think that there's definitely an appetite out there for people to understand, what are the Republicans about? I mean, you have two audiences here, right? It's the Republican voters, and we want to hear our folks talk about things. And I think there's a big audience out there of people that are they call themselves independent. They're definitely not Democrats anymore. They're leaning Republican just simply because of the chaos that the Democrats are introducing to the country and the way they're ripping it apart. And so they want an opportunity to see, okay, well, what are the Republicans about? Now, we still have a strong platform. If you go read the platform, it's still, okay, we're conservatives. But if you don't have an opportunity for people in the middle to hear what you're about, I mean, we all know that there's just like this incredible, lack of information for people in the middle that, you have these conversations sometimes with folks that call themselves independent, and you start talking about things. I mean, you guys in particular, me and, conservative activists, you start talking about things and they just look at you like they don't even know what you're talking about because they've never heard it, because there's such a blackout with the mainstream media. I mean, you guys do a great job, but everybody else is just doing what they do. And so we have to take our opportunities. And it's a big opportunity to have these debates and our guys get up there and these people in the middle be like, you know what, I definitely am not a Democrat anymore, and maybe I am more of a Republican than I thought. And then obviously our people get a chance to sift them out. I mean, I wish Trump would participate. I mean, I understand politically why he's not, but I wish he would. But just give everybody an opportunity to do it. And to the first part of your question, I mean, there's all these other places, OAN, Daily Caller. I mean, there's so many places we could. You
could put together 24 conservative news outlets to all co-sponsor it. I mean, it's not like there's a lack of outlets or a lack of talent that can ask questions that are fair-minded and intended to elicit differences of opinion on substantive issues rather than to recite the talking points from the powers that be at NBC. I mean, that's the thing that there's an opportunity. You mentioned Trump. I mean, there's an opportunity because if Trump was on the stage, he wouldn't probably accept all the premises of questions coming from the likes of Kristen Welker. And so maybe you'll see that from DeSantis or some of the other candidates. But for those guys too, sometimes it's not their comfort zone to do a Newt Gingrich or to do a Trump and go after the moderator to really have a debate with the moderator as opposed to the other candidates. Sometimes you're fearful and you got all these consultants. Oh, you don't want to come off as mean-spirited. You don't want to come off as attacking a woman if Kristen Welker asks a absurd question, which is almost a guarantee. So it is complicated, and it's unnecessarily complicated. So if this is about who Republicans in a primary are going to choose for their nominee, and you want to hear from the candidates in a fair and balanced forum, if you will, then right. I mean, the NBC, any of the mainstream or the DC press corps outlets, I mean, it makes no sense. It would be like, as you were sort of intimating, it would be like, oh yeah, the Democrats agree to have the Wall Street Journal editorial board moderated debate.
Right.
That would never happen.
Absolutely. Yeah. And to your point about like the mechanics of the debate, when they ask these questions, yeah, they might go after them, but you're burning your own time. And I think too, that we watched Trump do that before, and especially on our side, we all know, yeah, they're against us. And so even if they did go after the premise and all that stuff, which, I guess they're going to have to again tonight, they're burning time. They're doing what we have to do all the time, where as opposed to serious questions from conservatives, they get right to the point of, hey, those guys are destroying the country and we're going to save it. Democrats make you poorer. We make you richer. All those things that we don't get a chance to say because we're battling out with these Democrat operatives who call themselves journalists. It's the craziest thing.
We have to, all these candidates have to continue to answer, when did you stop beating your wife type of questions. I mean, that's the whole. I wanted to get your reaction to the results last night. We all understand that the Republicans underperformed again, and that makes Republicans understandably nervous, especially when you have. I mean, I go to Kentucky when you have such a talented candidate in Daniel Cameron and a state which Trump won by 26 points, and you can't get over the top against a Democrat incumbent. It's concerning.
Absolutely. I think there's a big difference that we're seeing over time here between the force of Trump's personality, which, if he's nominee, all right, good, let's do this again, right? Which is great. But there's also the on-the-ground Republican political operation, which, as you know, Dan, doesn't really exist anywhere anymore. And I think this goes to the concept of this Ronna McDaniel thing. The Republican Party, especially at the national level, and in almost all the states, because I do get around the country and talk to different people, the Republican Party has turned into like a donor social club. The amount of political operation that is happening on the ground compared to what the Democrats do, it's just shameful. And so you look at, like, you didn't bring it up, but the Pennsylvania Supreme Court race and the mail-in ballots, and this is why Fetterman is a senator, because they have figured out how to generate these ballots, get them back get them in the mail, get them back in. I hate it. I did all this stuff. We did, as you know, the Voter Reference Foundation, and we're putting the voter rolls online, all that stuff. But if we don't figure this side of it out and go out and actually get on the ground and make stuff happen to get the ballots in, they are going to kill us every time. Now, the good news is, and this is what I tell everybody, the real upside here, and you know this too, is there's a lot of energy out there on the ground. And this started with the Tea Party, and it's all, Moms for Liberty and all these groups are out there. It's not the Republican Party in the states, and it's obviously not the National Republican Party, but there are groups out there. They just don't know what to do and where to go. And that's part of Restoration of America. That's what we're doing on the states and the ground, is creating an environment where these people can partner together and actually go out and do some good, because that's what they want to do. So we'll get there. They know there's a lot of people out there that want to do the work, but the Republican Party, I use your joke that I got a long time ago when I ran for office. It's like, good luck trying to join the Illinois Republican Party. I mean,
yeah,
it's like,
right.
There's nothing there, right? And
right. Try to volunteer, you can't. Yeah, right.
Well, what's the
terrible?
What's the Trump factor in all of this? I mean, here, of course, this morning, Chris Christie, the professional antagonist, is saying that Daniel Cameron lost in Kentucky because Trump backed him.
Well, I don't. I think it goes back to more this concept of how do you get the ballots in. I just don't. I think the Democrats, I mean, even Bashir and that family dynasty, they've got it figured out on the ground out there. And if you don't have, I mean, I understand the endorsement, but if he's not running at that time, I mean, there's definitely this factor of him and his force of personality that brings people in. But you have to have more of an organization that is just, we can't just sit around and be like, hey, let's run some great ads all the time. Well, okay, we got to do that for sure, but we have to have people on the ground making stuff happen. And us compared to them in all these states, it's not even a contest right now. And so we got to get our act together.
It's going to be really interesting. We looked at this, and you guys did a restoration too. We looked at this after the midterms, and you saw the drop-off in Republican voters, well, I should say, people who voted for Trump, who are center-right in 2016 and 2020, who didn't show up in 2022. I know in Illinois, by way of example, the number was something like 330,000, round numbers. And so it'd be interesting in the post-mortem to see what the fall-off was in terms of the people who turned out to vote for Trump and then didn't turn out for Daniel Cameron, and the same thing with legislative races in Virginia, and the same thing with that Supreme Court race in Pennsylvania, because that is motivational issue. It's partly a function of candidates and the quality of the messaging campaign, but it's also importantly, and this doesn't get enough talk, what you're talking about, which is are you in contact with, informing, running a VBM program as prescribed by law in the various states, and making sure that those votes are banked, making it easy for people that are inclined to your viewpoint and to your candidates outside of Trump, even though that's their main motivation, make sure their votes are counted in these off-presidential elections too. And I suspect we're going to see there's significant fall off again yesterday as there was in 2022.
Yeah, I think that's right. And we have got to think long term now. And I appreciate the Trump phenomenon on a lot of levels, these things that you just talked about. But there's also this element of we have got to do much like what the Democrats have done and inspire people on their local races. Because, when you get people to come out, for their town council races and all those types of things, they'll start voting up the ticket. If you have people that just all they want to come out for is a presidential, they don't vote down too. So with a lot less probability that they'll vote down by a significant amount. And so we have to have situations on the ground now where I think we had it a long time ago. I think about when I first moved to Chicago and DuPage was really red. We had organizations that did this stuff. And so we have to go out and inspire our people and say, look, you got to think about more than just a presidential. We're going to do that for sure, but we got to think about all these other races. And you got to go get your neighbors, and we got to get the precincts going again, and just build it from the ground up as opposed to being top down. And I think that back to the Ronna thing. I mean, that's just how she thinks, and those people around her. It's like, oh, we'll run some ads, it'll be fine. No, it's not. Terrible. Look what's happening. Just losing and losing and losing, and we have to think about it differently. But we have energy on the ground. People just don't know what to do.
It needs to be mined. Yeah, Doug Truax, founder and president of Restoration PAC. Doug, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
Are you a driver of a Ford Power Stroke diesel engine? Tired of taking your Ford Power Stroke diesel in to be misdiagnosed or paying for repairs that don't fix the problem? Well, bring your vehicle to the diesel headquarters, Remke's Garage. The shop is equipped with state-of-the-art diagnostic equipment and highly trained technicians. Take it to the experts. Take it to Remke's Garage. Remke's Garage specializes in Ford Power Stroke, Chevy Duramax, Dodge